guys, Jay here. Welcome to Models Memories Weekly, episode 75. Models Memories is a show about nothing and it is filmed in front of a live studio audience. This is a show where I talk about my painting, modeling, and wargaming experiences from the week. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Jay, you put out 3 activities a week and you stream every single night. How? Could I possibly have more to say? Well, I do, and here goes. This week I want to talk all about the new squat model that has completely changed my opinion of the squats, and how the new Games Workshop Battle Force is good, but maybe not so good. But first, I'm excited to tell you about this week's sponsor. I have actually purchased many of their miniatures in the past. I have these autocannon batteries for my Genestealer cult, this Preacher Sephima sister that'll be joining my Adeptus Sororitas, and this Sylvia Brando who leads my Imperial Guard kill team, all from Victoria Miniatures. Victoria Miniatures has been a major player in the wargaming scene for over a decade, creating a huge catalog of 28mm heroic scale miniatures. These minis are hand cast out of resin in the USA. They make the troops you have always wanted, like these Penal Guard convicts, the blasphemous Brulian beasts, and the noble Victorian Guard, to name just a few. Most Victoria miniatures are sculpted by Victoria Lamb, who is an absolute hobby hero. She was the first woman to win a Slayer sword and has won 13 Golden Demons. Vic Minis has just launched their first Kickstarter. The project is for a halfling sniper squad of 10 super characterful 28mm miniatures, either cast in CO cast plastic or as digital STLs. These tiny little fellas, carrying what looks like Barrett 50 cals, are ready to take on the baddest foes around while requisitioning the best rations. After all, they need their second breakfast. They have already hit their stretch goals, including 10 female halfling heads, 10 gas mask heads, and a special character called Bamboo Bull Roar. Each pledge level includes all 10 halflings, free shipping, plus all unlocked stretch goals. The Kickstarter is live now through September 8th, 2022. Follow the link in the description if you want to add the Halfling Snipers to your wargaming collection. And thank you, Victoria Miniatures, for sponsoring this episode and allowing me to ramble about wargaming for far too long. This week, Games Workshop dropped some new squat models on us, and I actually really love them, and I finally feel like I get the squats. Every release has kind of felt a little bit different. The basic troops kind of were Genestealer culty, and then the transport looked like something from the Alien movies, and then the speeder bikes looked like something from the Fallout universe, and then the squatty Terminators were just kind of Terminators with tiny little baby boy legs. It all just kind of was rolling over me, and I was getting really weird vibes. I couldn't really understand how it would all work together, but with the new miniatures, I think that I finally see a real interesting concept from the squats. And what it reminds me of is The Matrix. The Matrix is a wonderful movie about how the biggest dorks in the whole world, people who wear tight latex, sunglasses indoors, and go to underground Rob Zombie concerts, are our only hope to save us from the evil robots. And the aesthetic of those movies, I totally see in the squats. This is the Nebuchadnezzar, the gravity ship that is in the movie, and looking at this and looking at some of the squat stuff, I am seeing a lot of parallels. It's kind of like they took something normal, a ship or a spaceship, but instead of giving it wings or giving it giant thrusters, it's got these like gravity balls attached to it, and it's a weird shape, and it's sort of aerodynamic, and it's a little H.R. Giger-esque, but it's also looks kind of like a Navy ship, and everything is kind of cobbled together, and there's a little bit of exposed wiring and exposed antenna, and a bubble cockpit, sound familiar from a certain short model range. And this is the lightning gun, humanity's only tool against the evil robots. Although in a couple of the other movies they have some other weapons, but we're not gonna talk about those other movies. And this, it's got the same sort of. Clearly, it's built off of some like chunk of a motorcycle with a bunch of cabling and exposed wires and a targeting screen. Like, how are you really looking at that targeting screen while you're pointing this thing around? But this, I could see this in the hands of some squats. And now let's look at the new minis. Drop the wrench and pick up the cannon. The Brookire Thunderkin are marching to war. We've seen plenty of awesome Leagues of Votann technology already, from nimble Sagatar to thundering Enyi exo armor, but we've only scratched the surface of the ingenious kin that created it all. It's the job of to toil in the forges, and when the oath bands head to battle, they strap into the powerful exo frames to become the mighty Thunderkin. Name's a little lame, but these models are amazing. I absolutely love them. They're, the exposed wires. These look like, you know, I could see the squats with their little pickaxes and their lunch pails walking into the mines, and then a couple of these guys just lumbering alongside them. I love that their little hand fits into that socket and manipulates the metal hand outside. It's probably that their hand in there is free floating, and then there's like an Xbox Kinect reading their hand movements, and then the metal hand outside replicates it. I really like that Games Workshop kind of sticks with, I mean, this is gonna sound crazy, but slightly plausible technology. Like the Eldar and the Tau, they don't worry about how are those pilots controlling those mech suits, because clearly they have some unbelievably powerful alien technology. But for humans, it's really hard to pilot 2 arms and 2 legs. We see it like in the Sisters of Battle mechs, how their hands are kind of outside of the mech, moving them around, and then the metal hands replicate those effects. We see it on the Dreadnoughts, where a dead person is like hot wired into it, and so when they move their non-existent hands, the robotic hands do the movement. And with these guys, they're plugged in, and so when he moves his leg moves, and when he moves his arms move. I absolutely love it. And the exposed wiring, I brought this up when we first saw the squats. I love that he's got one giant slab of armor on the side where he would be like protecting himself with. The guns, I like the guns a lot. They're a little big and they're covering up a little bit of the model. I almost would have maybe made the weapons a little skinnier and longer, just so that they didn't cover up so much of the miniature, but I still think it looks really, really good. And these would look so good. Right now, they're in a dark greenish grayish with a dark grayish or grayish gun. It's a little bland, but imagine the exo armor suit, you know, shiny, but dingy and dirty with like oil on it. And then a bright like hazard stripe gun, or maybe a bright silver gun to really help it stand out. And then I like the helmets, and later on in the article it goes on to say like that their fancy dancy goggles are like important, but I just want to throw some punk heads on there. So maybe they're all wearing sunglasses because they're cool. These models are awesome. I want to get them. I would love to. They have one big slab shoulder pad, which I really like. And I almost want to have like a piece of glass coming off of one side of the shoulder pad, almost like they have like a motorcycle. Like motorcycles that got that one little piece of windscreen. I would almost like to have like one little piece of windscreen for them to look through. Just a little extra bit of bulletproof glass. They should probably get the riot shields from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, because they'll block any bullets magically. And that's probably what they would put on their giant slab shield. Oh, these models are absolutely sick. And what's crazy is that they kind of look plausible. Like I could imagine like when the Boston Dynamics finally figures out how to make like the mech suits that they've been working on, they'll probably look a little bit like this. I mean, they probably won't have like weird stilts and sentinel feet, but it looks kind of right. And I could imagine, you know, a squat, you know, he probably has to get like a little booster, but then he climbs in and he takes the little cage and he brings it down, and then he puts his hands into the little Xbox Kinect gloves, and then he's ready to rock and roll. They look so good. And now I see, like, I still am not a big fan of the Terminator-esque guys, but I think there's probably ways to fancy him up. Like maybe the leaders and those guys share a lot of similarities in their armor design, and they have a little bit more embellishment. They have those details, which are missing on these guys because they're just wearing like generic off-the-shelf armor, and which that's what I think makes them look really good. And like the graffiti-esque text on the shoulder pad looks like something out of Blade Runner. But maybe the way you do it is that those Terminator guys and your leader look very squatty with their runes. Maybe you paint their armor the same, and then maybe even you do a bunch of like freehanding work on them, and they just look extra special, and everybody else is just, they requisition them from the mines. I can totally picture the squats. All of their heads will have to be replaced. The heads look good. The heads that Games Workshop made look good, but I want punky, dumb, rainbow hair squats. piloting these dingy, grungy, ugly vehicles. And all of the exposed power cabling running to all of these exosuits. They show off the back, and the back, it's got servos and pistons in the right spots, which is wild for a Games Workshop product. Like the legs have like 9 joints and come off of a robotic pelvis. Like they really tried to make it all work, and it really works. I like it a lot. These guys are absolutely sweet. Yeah, I could, like, they look amazing as Games Workshop's painted them, and with, let's just maybe call it a proper paint job, they would absolutely look phenomenal. I like these models a lot. Also, what's kind of interesting, and I think it's usually because like they usually make necks a little bit longer. Like when a character wears armor, their neck kind of grows 6 inches so that it can poke out appropriately. But like on the Space Marine Centurions, which I love, I absolutely love the Space Marine Centurions with my slight kit bashes. Because the Space Marine Centurion, the head of the Space Marine sits like really, really low, and it kind of makes it look like their little eyes are peeking out above the armor. And so I just took a little blob of green stuff and put it in the neck hole so that the head sits where the head looks like it should sit, even though now the Space Marine has a huge giraffe neck. But with these guys, he actually, and it's probably because the squats have shorter arms and legs, but with the exo armor, he actually now has the proportions of a normal human, which is awesome. Like that kind of makes sense for the squats to have armor that makes them a little bit bigger and also, you know, stronger and tougher. Yeah, it looks like it would be a formidable opponent on the battlefield, and it also looks like it would be highly practical for a society to have some machinery like this. It's harkening back to the alien power loader that Ripley fought the alien queen with. It totally looks like something that'd be walking around the city of Zion, the last remaining human city. These guys look so dope. I can imagine building some asteroid bases, maybe with like some crystal sticking out of it, like the old Lego series Rock Raiders, when you would have your little vehicles and then you would pick up those little transparent Lego gems. These guys are awesome. And at the very end of the article, it teases, "Are you keen to see more of the Leagues of Votann? The biggest reveal yet is coming at the end of the month, so join us for Warhammer Community's coverage of the Nova Open release and see more of what the kin have to offer." So that means, it must mean that we're getting pretty darn close to the end of the new squat model range, and the biggest thing is yet to be revealed. I hope it's a train. I hope it's a land train. I think that'd be awesome. I would also, pipe dream. Maybe because they made the squat trikes floating vehicles. They did make the squat big vehicle have a bunch of wheels, which also looked pretty good, but I hope that their big centerpiece model looks like the Nebuchadnezzar from the Matrix, and it has those gravity balls and it's floating along. And I hope that it's a flyer, but a fake flyer, in that it floats along the ground, because I don't really like flyers in 40K. They always are a little bit annoying. And they haven't really done flyers lately. Flyers were huge when they hit the scene in 2016, and the Tyranids got a flyer, and the Tau got a flyer, and the Eldar, and the Drukhari, and everybody got, and you get a flyer, and you get a flyer, and you get a flyer. You all get flyers. And then they were impossible to balance, so Games Workshop walked it right back, and now you can only take 3 flyers in an army, and nobody does. And I haven't seen a Tau Sunshark bomber since 2016. So I hope that the Hearthkin get a cool flyer-esque transport, or as super cool vehicle, but it's actually just like a hovering vehicle. That would be absolutely sick. Also this week, Games Workshop showed off a new battle force for the demons, and it's really making me question when the Imperial Guard are gonna get their codex, because it seems like now I would almost bet that the squats are gonna get their codex, and obviously the demons are getting their codex, and the Chaos Corn guys are gonna get their codex. So our guard gonna be dead last. And if the rumors are to be believed, and 10th edition is right around the corner next year, the guard are gonna be in that awkward spot where they're gonna get their codex, and then their codex is gonna not really be that worth it because you're only gonna get access to it for like 5 months, maybe 6 months, and then it's gonna be outdated, maybe even a little less than that, which has definitely happened in the past. The whole codex system is pretty frustrating because, obviously if you're a Space Marine player, you're first to get your new codex. And sometimes it's not that big a deal because like in the switch from 8th edition into 9th edition, 9th edition is a little bit different than 8th. And so really your old codexes were fine. But like, if 10th edition is gonna be a rules resets, which it seems like it might be, it could mean that that Imperial Guard codex that you bought is real outdated and Games Workshop's asking you to buy something like a compendium to get some updated rules, but we will see. Games Workshop released the new Chaos Demons Combat Patrol, and it looks lovely. It comes with a good number of models. I like these models. The tricky thing here is this box is called Combat Patrol Chaos Demons, which is a little weird because it's clearly a Khorne only box. You don't get anything for Slaanesh, you don't get anything for Nurgle, you don't get anything for Tzeentch, which is fine, but you would hope that each of the four gods of chaos get their own box. Because right now, if you're a Slaanesh player, you're probably not itching to pick up a whole bunch of Khorne bloodletters. Like, it's a little weird that this is called Chaos Demons and not Chaos Khorne Demons. You can definitely take a mixed loadout Chaos Army, and so you have a little bit of everything. So maybe if you already own a bunch of the other 3 gods, this is a good way to get a whole bunch of Khorne into your army all at once. But it does make the question marks go off a little bit of what exactly is happening with those other Chaos gods. This box comes with a Bloodmaster, 2 boxes of Bloodletters, one half of Blood Crusher box. Blood Crushers are sold in packs of 6, and this box only comes with 3, and 2 boxes of Bloodhounds. Blood. And so the retail price, if you bought all of those boxes separately, comes out to $273, which means that this box has a savings of $123, which is really good. And it's actually really close to the best savings box that Games Workshop currently makes, the Genestealer Cult box, which is really good. Some of these Chaos Demon models were way more expensive than I thought they were. Like the Bloodhounds, $55, and the Blood Crushers, 6 for $110. It's a little much, but it's good. It's good to get savings in a box. And I don't necessarily think all hope is lost. Like Chaos Demons, the only way you're gonna be able to buy Chaos Demons at a reasonable discount is to buy the Khorne, because there's a slight chance that when they're still working on changing all of the Age of Sigmar start collectings into the Age of Sigmar version of Combat Patrols. So it's possible that the Age of Sigmar Demons boxes are gonna satisfy the Slaanesh, Tzeentch, and Nurgle armies, and so 40k players will just buy those boxes. Because demons are a really interesting army in that the Chaos Demon models are playable in both Age of Sigmar and 40k, which is really, really cool. Although in Warhammer Fantasy Battles, you really couldn't, you could and you couldn't. Like, you were playing 40k, but all of your models are on tiny little square bases compared to the normal round bases, where now Age of Sigmar uses round bases, which look better. And so everything looks the same, which is really, really nice. And I've always liked the Chaos Demons. I think they look neat. I think it's really cool that you get a lot of really different things to paint. I mean, I just fawned over the squats, but every single squat model is pretty similar in terms of aesthetic and how you paint them. You're probably gonna really get used to painting whatever your main color is and your accent color is. But with the Chaos Demons, I mean, one afternoon you're painting blood letters in like, a lava scheme, and then the next day you're painting pink horrors, and then the next day you're painting up some discs or some screamers of Tzeentch, which are just like big flying stingrays, which also the screamers of Tzeentch, those models are old and they look great. Like, out of all of the models in 40k, I feel like those models really, really hold up. But yeah, Chaos Demons, Combat Patrol, it's really good and it's really interesting. It's got a good savings. I think it's got a good number of models in it. But yeah, it's be really interesting to see how they deal with the other Chaos Demon factions. There's a chance, because Chaos Demons are another one of those armies that is kind of a bunch of different armies shoved into one. And are the demons popular enough to warrant 4 combat patrols? Like the Space Marines only get 6. And the Space Marines are the most popular thing that Games Workshop makes. So are Chaos Demons popular enough to get 4 whole boxes? I don't know. I would guess not, but maybe if they split it between 40k and Age of Sigmar, it would all work out. I don't know, time will tell. But the only thing it seems like we know for sure is that all 4 of those boxes were released before the Imperial Guard Codex. But anyhow, enough of Chaos Demons, which I actually do want to pick up a bunch of Chaos Demons because I've been reading the Chaos Demon rules in Kill Team, and I really want to play them. They actually look really, really neat. The idea of the roster mechanic is a little bit lost in Kill Team 2 because there's not as much like swapping out. You might swap out a model here and there, but the Chaos Demons really make use of the roster mechanic because you've got the Pink Horrors, the Bloodletters, the Plague Bearers, and the Slaaneshi Demonettes. And they all do different stuff and they're all unique, and it'd be cool to like, you're playing a game is like, okay, this time I'm gonna bring Bloodletters and I'm gonna bring Demonettes, or in the next army it's all Demonettes, or in the next one it's going to be, okay, this is gonna be Pink Horrors and Plague Bearers, because I need the big tough Plague Bearers to hold objectives, and I need the Pink Horrors to run around and shoot stuff. And so maybe I'm looking on eBay and places to find lots of demons because I don't want to buy 4 boxes and be broke. I'd rather maybe buy somebody's junk models. And I feel like demons lend themselves to buying junk models, very much like the orcs, where like if an arm is glued on a little wrong, maybe you just add some scars on that shoulder and you can just call it a day and fix it with painting. But anyhow, I want to talk about some models I recently finished. I painted these up live on camera. By the way, I live stream every weeknight from 9 to 10 p.m. Central. Come hang out. But these are Daughters of Khaine. And these models, a lot of the times when I paint models on stream, it's a little bit of my hobby within my hobby, because when I paint something for a video, usually it's going right into my armies. But when I paint on stream, often I'm like painting just random bits and bobs from my pile of shame that I haven't seen in years. And these models, I put them on the table, I primed them, and then I decided I wanted to do a cold color scheme. And so I actually zenithalled them with a light blue and then worked on them from there. And I think a little bit of that coldness has stayed in their bodies, but I think the scheme did work out in the end. But if I wanted to do a proper Daughters of Khaine army, I think I would go back and I would play with this paint scheme a little bit, because I think the skin gets a little lost and it's a little bit dark. And the tricky thing with the Daughters of Khaine is like I could paint the skin really, really well and it would take ages. Like on my Malifaux Arcanist Showgirl performers, there's like 5. So I can spend all the time in the world because there's only 5 and there's only ever gonna be 5. But in a Daughters of Khaine army, I might have like 50 of these gals. And so I just can't sit there and highlight every single bit of the skin. And on these guys, I was able to get away a little bit with like washes and airbrush to get the skin looking pretty good. But then I think the tone of the skin and the tone of the clothing and then the tone of the metal all blends in a little more than I would want. I would want to find a way to really have their skin pop next to all of the other parts of them. Although I'm very happy with the hair. And I think the thing that ties all of these models together is the gore. These are I haven't done a ton of stuff with gore, but I had a lot of fun with Games Workshop's Blood for the Blood God technical paint. The way I do it is I take my airbrush, empty, nothing in there, and I dip the front of it into Blood for the Blood God, and then I spray it at the model, and it just goes, and it spits paint everywhere, and I think it looks really nice. I sprayed it on all of their weapons, and then I actually sprayed it on their hair. So for some reason, these gals, they don't wash their hair very often. Their hair is just covered in blood. And the slightly colder palette that I used for these gals, I think works well to accent that blood, because the blood is bright red and vibrant and saturated, and then their actual bodies and skin is pretty desaturated. There's definitely something there, and I almost wouldn't mind getting some more Daughters of Khaine just to keep playing with it and seeing if I can get the perfect, simple color scheme for models that have a lot of bare skin and a lot of really finicky, detailed armor. A bunch of months back when Games Workshop showed off the Daughters of Khaine versus, what was it, just normal elves or something? That box really, I think it was the Nighthaunt actually. The Daughters of Khaine versus the Nighthaunt, that box really tempted me because I really like the Nighthaunt and I really like the Daughters of Khaine. And what's fun about Age of Sigmar is I don't play it, and so all of those models are new to me. Usually when Games Workshop shows off a Combat Patrol, it's like, yeah, I've already got that, so I'm not gonna buy the box. But with Age of Sigmar, it's like, oh my gosh, an entire brand new box full of models that I've never opened, I've never assembled, I've never put them together, maybe I've never even seen them in person. Age of Sigmar looks really, really cool. And I have played Dominion, the starter box for Age of Sigmar, and it's delightful. Really fun game. But yeah, Daughters of Khaine, I would say I am 7 out of 10 pleased with these models. I do like how they turned out, and I don't think I would go back and repaint these gals. I like them. And actually, I think this is an Underworlds warband, so I am ready to play Underworlds. I do have the cards. I hope I didn't throw them away. I'm sure I put them somewhere, and I do not remember where I put them, which is as good as throwing them away. But yeah, so I'll probably play these gals in Underworld, and then maybe one day I'll give the Daughters of Khaine another try. And speaking of giving things a try, that's right, our Patreon. Over there we have lots of cool STLs ready to populate your wargaming boards. This month we get a Bound Demon complete with Ball Gag and a whole bunch of modular trenches ready to crisscross your battlefields. If you sign up, there's a welcome pack that includes Dawn of War terrain for Space Marines, Eldar, and Imperial Guard, all hosted by Comics, Games, and Things. We also make Patreon exclusive videos where we critique our viewers' miniatures, and we also have merch. Link in the description. Now I'm excited for the squats to come out because I do want to play around with those mechs. I just like mechs. I have like 7 dreadnoughts. I love the Sisters of Battle mech suits. I like the Tau mech suits, and now I really like the squat mech suits. So maybe I need to have a video where I just paint one of each, just a mech from every single race of the 40K universe. That would be pretty fun. All right, bye-bye.